also plonked himself down for an interview with Good Morning America, which will air on Monday morning US time. And given this teaser trailer, we can probably guess who the main subject of the interview will be.
GMA Monday morning.
Ultimately, I don't think that we can ever have peace with my family unless the truth is out there.
Prince Harry.
You refer to your brother as your beloved brother and arch nemesis. Strong words. What did you mean by that?
The GMA interview.
So the heir was jealous of the spare.
Everyone will be talking about.
Maybe it's a difficult question to ask or for you to answer.
I'm sure you're going to ask it anyway.
I'm going to ask anyway. I have to.
Good Morning America Monday.
Now, Sky News Australia's Andrew Bolt wrote a fabulous piece in the Herald Sun, framing the situation in a way that I think is very apt. But enough of this old sexist game of blame the witch. No more excuses for Harry. With his new memoir, Spare, and the 2, now 3 interviews he's given to promote it, he stands revealed as the chief villain in this disgusting farce. Nothing can excuse what this mewling, vain, self-centered, poor me hypocrite is doing to his father, his brother, and his country. He's full of the vicious resentments and jealousies that explain why many kings in more savage times, from the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed III to Britain's Richard III, thought it safer to kill every relative who might eye off their throne. Could that be the case? Has the secret poison been this whole time, not just the opportunism and paranoia of Meghan Markle, but the fierce jealousy of the youngest son for his older, adored brother? Is it the spare versus the heir? Well, joining me now to discuss this very dilemma is UK broadcaster Sophie Corcoran. Sophie, it is fabulous to see you this evening. Now, do you think Harry's inherent jealousy of Prince William may have been all Meghan Markle needed to get the ball rolling?
Well, I mean, I think the jealousy works both ways. I think Harry is jealous of William, and I think Meghan is jealous of Kate. I think they are both, as a pair, jealous of each other. And I always said from the very beginning, weeks ago, before his book was even trailered, back when the Netflix documentary came out, that this entire thing has been fueled by jealousy of William and Kate. It's very obvious it has. They are the target of this documentary, which is very odd.
I've always thought that too. I mean, you've got to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of it here. There seems to be a bit in Spare, actually, where Harry claims that Meghan accused Kate of having baby brain because of her hormones, and obviously William didn't like that because it was very rude. I mean, you'd have to imagine the rivalry between the women contributed to the rivalry between the husbands, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think so. And I think she made it quite clear in the Netflix documentary. She spoke about Kate a lot of the time, her apparently not being able to wear colour like Kate does, and how Kate didn't want to give her a hug the very first time they met, as most normal people probably don't want to do. So a lot of where Meghan was focused in the Netflix documentary was focused on Kate, and a lot of Harry's book obviously has been focused on William. We've got, the whole dog bowl necklace scenario going on. It's all a bit weird, and the fact that he got shouted at. So that's a bit strange.
What do you think about that dog bowl necklace story, Sophie? I'm curious to get your expert take on this. I mentioned it with Lisa, but look, it just seems to me like it's going to be one of his harebrained claims that he throws out there but just never backs up.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. This entire book has been a complete and utter PR disaster for both Meghan and Harry, as was the Netflix documentary. But what he says that struck me the most is that the first person he called was his therapist. And it's like, well, okay, if he has a therapist on speed dial, why couldn't he then do it for Meghan? Because when you go back to the Oprah interview, he basically said that he couldn't get Meghan any help for her mental health when she was having suicidal feelings. Well, all of a sudden he's got this therapist on speed dial that the second he has a row with his brother, the very first person that he calls isn't the king, isn't his wife, isn't whatever, it's his therapist.
Well, yes, exactly. And look, what I took from that Oprah interview regarding Meghan's mental health, she seemed incensed that no one would put her in rehab. She never talked about wanting a singular therapist. Is that her Hollywood brain working? She thinks that if she's not put in rehab, she's not being given therapy?
Yeah, indeed. And I really don't think that that's going to be the case. I mean, these guys are extremely privileged and they have the access to pretty much everything they want. So a lot of this Meghan didn't get, I don't really tend to believe, and I don't think she would have got any more back in her life in Hollywood. But I think this sums up the entire stupidity of everything that Meghan and Harry are doing, because the reality is we've got the British people back at home. We've got a general strike at the minute. Pretty much everybody's on a strike. I mean, the trains were on strike to me to get here this morning. And, you know, we've got the cost of living crisis is tearing Britain apart. I mean, our gas bills have just gone up an enormous amount. People are torn between heating and eating. We're having a little bit of a disaster back here at home. And here we have some of the most privileged people in the entire world who have got everything they want, coming here and telling us how bad their life is. I just don't understand. I don't understand why the British taxpayer would pay for Meghan and Harry's books and their memoirs, when it basically says that we, the taxpayer, have funded these guys' lives of privilege. They would not have the lives of privilege they would have without the British taxpayer. That is just the reality. So for them to go out there and make millions of pounds by saying that they have been oppressed by us, somehow been oppressed by us, while we are going out to work every day and our tax money is being taken away to fund his life of privilege, is a complete utter disgrace, and it's an insult to the British people. And I think this entire thing, the real victims aren't Meghan and Harry. They're not the real victims. They're not oppressed in any way. She's a millionaire duchess, for God's sake. She's not oppressed. And the real victims of this are firstly William and Kate, who are now getting a whole load of nonsense in the press that they know full well William can't answer back to. It's the rest of the royal family who have had to go along with this nonsense for far too long. But ultimately, it's the British people and our country who they are embarrassing on the world stage. I mean, Harry was a member of our armed forces, and yet here we go, and he's crying that he's got to go to his therapist because his brother pushed him over. And he's also made this really stupid crash claim this week that he shouldn't have made about the killing 25 Taliban. I mean, all that's going to do now is put a target on the back of the British people, and we're probably going to put a target on the back of his own kids, his royal family, and we're probably going to have more revenge terrorist attacks because for some reason he felt like he had to go and say that. So thanks, Harry. Good one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It was of all the outrageous things he could have said, that was good. That was the most outrageous and ridiculous. Now, look, stepping out sideways slightly, I'd like just a quick take from you on this. The granddaughter of Nelson Mandela has come out swinging this week, saying she was deeply upset that Meghan and Harry have been using her grandfather's name to fund their life in California. Ms. Mandela said that Harry needs to be authentic and stick to his own story, and what relevance does Granddad's life have with his? Now, given both Meghan and Harry's references to Mandela, I'd say that she has a point, doesn't she?
Oh, I mean, she has an absolutely excellent point. And whenever we discuss Harry and Meghan, all the Americans mostly like to try and paint our country as some sort of racist hellhole. And for some reason, Meghan and Harry are winning all these strange awards of being like basically the modern day Jesus because they're having a row with their family in public, like the B-Tech Jeremy Kyle show. I don't know. But in effect, they're winning all these awards. But the only person in the royal family that has actually been proven to be a racist is the prince that called somebody, and I quote, a Paki, and dressed up as a Nazi. And if you can remind me of what prince that was, oh wait, it was Prince Harry. So I'm not really seeing this whole, you know, justice warrior Harry coming out. I mean, it's all a facade. The whole of it's nonsense.
Sophie Corcoran, God love you. It is an absolute privilege and a pleasure to have you on the show this evening. Thank you so much for lending us your time.